With years of experience as a successful print-on-demand seller, there are so many things that I have learned along the way that would have been game changers if I knew them since day one. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you everything I wish I knew when I first started my print-on-demand business and what I would do differently if I were starting over in 2024. Now, print on demand is still a seriously profitable business model, and it's expected to grow by even more next year. So, if you're even thinking about starting a print on demand shop or you're just getting started, some of these tips can be the difference between you being really successful early on, being profitable, and making a lot of sales, and making no sales whatsoever. So definitely stick around to the end of the video. You don't want to miss any of these tips. Let's just jump right into it. Now, one of the very first things that I wish I knew when I went into print on demand is the fact that not every single one of your designs is going to be successful or even make sales. In fact, the percentage of your products and designs that will actually sell is quite a bit smaller than you would probably think. After multiple years in this business, the percentage of my actual products that really do sell fluctuates between like 5 and 10% of all the designs that I've ever posted. So that means 90% of the products that I've made and listed have never made a single sale. Now, that can sound really, really discouraging, but you do not have to get worried because the 10% or 5% of your designs that are actually selling are carrying the rest of your shop. Those are the ones that are becoming bestsellers. Those are the items that are selling every single day, multiple times a day, and making you hundreds or thousands of dollars of profit every single month. So it seems like you could be like, well, if only 10% of my designs are going to ever sell, why would you not just post those ones? Or why would you not just leave up only the designs that sell? But one of the things about print on demand is we never truly know what the next magic bestseller is going to be. So it's really important to continue adding new designs, new listings, new products, because we don't know when that next one could really take off. And when it does, it really pays off in a big way. I've even had designs that have sat in my shops for over a year, and then all of a sudden one of them starts selling, and it just creates a domino effect where that type of design and designs in that same niche are selling every single day like never before. So if you are posting a bunch of designs and you're discouraged because maybe you only have made sales on one or two products, don't worry about that. And if you really have very few products, say that you've posted under 100 designs. Well, if only 5% of those are going to sell, that means that probably around only 5 products are going to sell out of those 100 that you've created. So it's really important to keep adding more and more products every single day to be growing that catalog so that that 5-10% can be super powerful and really profitable. Now, the next thing that I wish I knew sooner, and that I know a lot of other print-on-demand sellers do not realize until they start this business model, is that if you are going to sell on a place like Etsy, it's important to have a little bit of cash up front to be able to run this business. Now, that doesn't mean that it's like another business model where you're going to have to be pouring thousands and thousands of dollars of capital into this to make it work. What I really mean is that you should have enough funds in your bank account to cover maybe the purchase of 10 or 20 wholesale items. So if you're selling shirts on a place like Etsy partnered with Printify, you need to have the cost of maybe a Bella and Canvas shirt, which is going to be around $11 plus maybe $4 to ship that. So this just ensures that, say you did have a product that really took off and someone ordered 10 of a product in a single day, you are going to be immediately charged for the wholesale cost of the item. And then Etsy is not going to pay you the money that the customer paid, which will include the cost of the item plus the profit that you made, until a lot later. So sometimes Etsy even will withhold these funds for a little bit of time. So you could be waiting weeks to get reimbursed for that initial purchase. So if you don't want to get yourself into a pickle where you're not able to afford the wholesale cost of those first purchases before you've made a lot of money in your print on demand shop, I would definitely suggest setting aside a couple $100s that, if people do purchase multiple items in a single day, in a single week, you would be able to cover that cost. I think this is something that a lot of people don't realize until they do get a really big order and then they are freaking out because they don't have the funds to cover that. And don't worry, you are going to get your money back if a customer bought the item plus the profit that you put on that item, but it's just going to be reimbursed at a later date. Now, one of the next things that I wish I knew a lot sooner, and I think my business could have grown even more a lot earlier on if I had done this, is realize that Etsy integrated with a production partner like Printify can be more work than other print on demand sites, but it's one of the easiest ones to be profitable early on. So for a long time, I only wanted to be selling on sites that were a lot more passive. So places like Merch by Amazon and Redbubble, TeePublic, Zazzle, all of those sites that I really could just upload my designs and kind of let them go. I wasn't going to have to worry about connecting with a manufacturing partner or dealing with customer service, anything like that. But the thing with that is that some of those sites like Redbubble, TeePublic, they really just don't see the same traffic as a place like Etsy or Amazon. And on Amazon, you are going to be very limited to the number of products you can upload when you first get started. So I was very fortunate to be able to make some first sales on Amazon really quickly, which did catapult me into those higher tiers where I had more slots to upload. But if I had started on Etsy from day one, I would have had so many more slots to be uploading products, and I know I would have been way more profitable way sooner. It actually took me quite a few months to even start on Etsy, integrate with Printify, and I was amazed with how profitable I was in my first month selling on there, and then that just continues to grow. So if you definitely want to start selling and really get off to a great start, be able to have a lot of momentum in those first months, I highly, highly recommend starting on Etsy integrated with a place like Printify. And if you don't know how to do that, I will link a complete tutorial right here. But this is going to be more work to manage, which I think some people also don't realize that when they're first getting started. But it's one of the best places for new sellers to get started on to actually make real profit in those first months without having to wait for things to kind of build upon themselves month after month on some of those other sites. Now, one of the next things that I wish I knew a lot sooner is that it's okay and even really encouraged to utilize a lot of templates and graphics that are available to you at your disposal with a few different subscription services. So when I first got started with print on demand, I tried to do everything with my free Canva account. Now, a lot of you probably have used a free Canva account, which there are some amazing tools that you can do with it, but it's very limited in terms of how you can download things, what types of fonts you can use, what their graphic library has. So I was trying to either make everything from scratch or search the Canva graphic library for their free images that I could use on my designs. Now, I still did make sales this way, but I wish I knew a lot sooner that I should have invested in some really great design tools that have templates or some services where I can get pre-made graphics. So the two that I use all the time now and still highly, highly recommend and stand by is one, Kittl, which Kittl is a all-in-one design platform really tailored towards print-on-demand sellers. They have so many different templates that you can simply just change out a few elements and then you have a completely unique, really professional looking design. And they have an entire asset library of graphics that you can use. They have tons of fonts, just amazing tools and features that you can use. This is a really great place to start if you are a beginner designer too, because you can utilize a lot of the tools that they have to make your items look really professional without really even knowing what you're doing. So I definitely wish that I had this when I was in my early stages of learning how to design things. Now, the other place that I wish I had invested in a lot sooner, and I don't know why I didn't because it is such a low, low monthly cost, and that is a subscription to Creative Fabrica. So if you haven't heard of Creative Fabrica, it's a library for all sorts of different assets that you can use for your print on demand projects. So they have all sorts of graphics, they have fonts, they have designs, they have all sorts of SVG files, PNG files, just anything that you're looking for, you want a specific graphic for, you can search for it on Creative Fabrica and they probably have something that's going to work really well with your design. Now, this is one of those subscriptions that's around less than $5 a month, typically with the sales that they have going on, and there are literally hundreds of thousands of graphics that are free to use for selling commercially. So that means you can use them on all of your print on demand projects. I'll have both Kittl and Creative Fabrica linked down below in the description if you do want to check them out. But this is truly something I really wish I had learned about and invested in a lot sooner because one, it helped me get designs out way faster when I started using some of these tools, and they looked a lot more appealing so that in turn they were making more sales. So I really think investing in tools is a great thing to do when you're getting started because a lot of them come in around that 10, sometimes $20 range. But if you just sell a couple extra items every single month, that pays for itself. And by getting more items out and by making items that are more likely to sell, you are definitely going to get your return on investment with something like that. Now, one of the things that I wish I knew about a lot sooner was a strategy for finding niches that has worked really well for me in the last couple years, and that is my cross niching formula. So when you're first getting started, one of the biggest questions that I hear you guys asking all the time is, how do I even find niches? How do I think of all these things? How do you come up with all of your niches? And a couple years ago, I found that a really good strategy that was working for me in a lot of my shops was cross niching. So, one of the biggest ways that I do this was by crossing a specific holiday with some other sub niche, and then I would put those together. So, for example, if Christmas was coming up, I wouldn't just make a Christmas design. Instead, I would cross that maybe with the niche of a baseball mom. So I would make a Christmas baseball mom shirt, and then that would become a really specific niched down product that there wasn't a ton of competition for, but people were still wanting to buy. People are really interested in things around the holidays, so that is a great place to start. Another example of this would be maybe not creating just a generic Valentine's Day design, but instead creating a Valentine's Day dentist design. So careers and holidays are great ones to cross niche, but you can also think about things like pets. So you could cross a certain pet with maybe a grandma. So maybe there is a grandma who owns a Cocker Spaniel. That is a great sub niche that has a lot less competition than just those two niches by themselves. Now, I was just doing this myself. I had created kind of a method and even jotted down a lot of the categories I really like to draw from all the time. And then I realized that this is something that I should definitely create for you guys. So a lot of you probably already have this, but I do have my free cross niching guide right here with over 40,000 different niche combinations. This is just a really great place to start if you don't even know how you should be thinking about niching down, you really don't have a strategy for researching, this is a great place to start. It's really going to get you a lot of ideas. I will have that completely free download linked down below if you guys do want to download that. A lot of people have been using it, and I'm getting feedback all the time about people using this cross niching guide and actually getting a lot of sales with some of those designs they create with just using this easy cross niching guide. So make sure you get that free download down below. Now, one of the things that I really do wish that I knew a lot sooner in this print on demand journey, because I think it would have saved me a lot of heartache, and that is the fact that whenever you create a design that becomes a bestseller, which is definitely something to be celebrated, it is inevitably going to be copied. So this is super discouraging, but unfortunately, it is just a reality of print on demand. Whenever people see that something is selling well, they want to jump on that so they can take advantage of the profit and people looking for those types of items. So it's really tempting to just look up the specific niche that you're selling in and then just see all those pages of people almost copying exactly your design, if not copying them pixel for pixel. And so I used to get really frustrated by this. And for a little bit of time, I actually would report designs that were stolen from me if they were exact copies. I don't mean that someone is just copying the general phrase. I mean that they literally took my design and put it on their own product. But I did find after a while that this just becomes way too time consuming and it's going to happen. But the really great thing about being the person that other people are copying is that while it's unfortunate that they would copy those, If your design is the one that is kind of up first, if it's the one that's really getting a ton of sales, it maybe already has reviews, it's the one that people are clicking on when they search this specific niche, it's really likely that your item is showing up at the top of the page. So people are clicking on yours and you're still going to kind of own that niche. So a lot of people, they see something is trending and they're late to the game. They try to make a contribution to this niche, but their listings are way in the later pages of that niche. So they're really not going to make sales, especially if it's the exact same design. So this is kind of something that I tell you guys to think about all the time too. So if you see a trending phrase that is selling well, it doesn't benefit you whatsoever to kind of just copy that phrase, copy the same styling. You always want to do something new, because if someone has already posted that design, it's already selling well. If you try to upload one that is exactly the same, maybe just with a few slight changes, it's really likely that people are just going to click on and buy the first one that was posted because it shows up first. They didn't have to scroll down. So it's always beneficial to really try and do something unique and stand out. But all that to be said, the reality of print on demand, and something I wish I had just known that is going to happen a lot sooner, is that your designs will get copied, your ideas get copied, and sometimes there really is nothing we can do about it. So it's best not to focus on it and just keep on uploading new products and new designs, because that's really what's going to move the needle in your business. We don't want to be looking behind. We always want to be looking ahead and trying to stay ahead of people that are copying us instead of just focusing on that. So one of the next things that I really wish I had known a lot sooner in my business is how successful and profitable other product types can be in your print on demand shop. So t-shirts really are the bread and butter of my business. They continue to be my top sellers month after month. But for a long time, I really only prioritized t-shirts. I didn't focus on any other products that could be super profitable and maybe have a lot less competition. So something I wish I knew, and what I would probably do if I was starting over, is I would really focus on some of those other product types besides t-shirts. Now, I still think you can be hyper successful with selling t-shirts. I don't think that you should omit them from your shops completely, but I do know for a fact that a lot of new sellers are popping up, getting really successful shops just focusing on one other product type. So maybe their entire shop is just tumblers, or maybe they're only selling throw blankets, or they're selling specialty gifts for teachers. So all of those other product types can be amazing sellers, and most of the time they have way less competition than a t-shirt. T-shirts kind of are the easiest thing to make. They're just what people tend to go to when they are becoming print on demand sellers. So if you can kind of think outside the box and try some other product types, you might be able to get a really successful shop very, very quickly. And if you're finding that a lot of your designs are selling really well on certain t-shirts, think about taking those designs and putting them on some other product types that you never would have tried as well. So if you're not, make sure you're selling hoodies and crew necks. Those are great sellers that often have a way bigger profit margin than a t-shirt. But you can also think about selling things like mugs too. Now, with that being said, I don't want you guys to spread yourself too thin. So I also see people going the other direction, where instead of just focusing on a few products, maybe they want to try everything. So they have two listings of maybe 100 different product types. And now that can be really hard to find success in too. So I think picking 2 to 3 products that you're really going to focus on and putting all your effort in those can be a fantastic strategy. And it really doesn't have to be t-shirts. So if you want to do something different, don't feel bad about skipping t-shirts completely and just doing something like sweatshirts or mugs or tumblers. Now, one of the next things that I really wish I knew a lot sooner and had gotten a lot better at is actually making mock-ups that people want to click on and that get sales, that look real and not generic. So if you want to find out my entire strategy and hacks for creating really sellable mock-ups that people click on, make sure you watch this video next. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.